the 4 keys to Francesca Schiavone's 2010 French Open victory. Now, before we actually get into Schiavone's game, let's talk about her opponent for a second. Sam Stosur. Now, let me tell you, in the 2010 French Open tournament, this girl was on fire. I mean, she rolled over Jankovic, roared back against Justine Henin, and stuck to an ultimately winning game plan against the almost unbeatable Serena Williams. That's right, she essentially beat 3 former number 1s back to back to back. And who does that nowadays, right? Or any time for that matter. And after that, she made her way to the final as an overwhelming favorite. But what happened? She lost. That's right, she lost to the 17th seed Italian girl by the name of Francesca Schiavone. Now, how did this happen? How could this happen? I mean, how did the underdog manage to defy the 1 to 120 odds of winning this thing in Paris? She did these 4 things. Let's get into them, shall we? Number 1 is superior serving. Now, this is one of the biggest reasons why she won. Now, previously at TennisMindCamp, we've talked about how much of an impact the serve can have on the outcome of a match, right? And on Saturday, Francesca showed just how true a concept that is. Now, she did this in 2 ways. One was that she played the percentage, or should I say she played the percentage. Now, if you watched the match, you saw how early on it was easy to see the nerves being tested and the anxiety seeping through for both players, who were on the biggest stages of their lives. So yeah, both were a little tight. But as the first set began to unfold, not only did Francesca Schiavone make it difficult for Stosur by giving her minimal break opportunities, meaning 0, the amount of serves that she strategically placed around the service box reached an amazing high of 70%. And let me tell you, when the serves started popping over one after another, after another, after another, the sky opened up and the confidence began to pour on the 29-year-old Italian. And as a result, the shackles of tension and uncertainty were broken, and her game really began to flourish. She began to fully extend on her shots and seemed to effortlessly float, or should I say fly, depending on the tempo of the point, and execute them with great precision. Now, seeing the score was only 6-4 in that set, by no means did Schiavone completely run away with it. But that noteworthy first serve percentage is what enabled her to really play her game, which was to use all of her shots and steal a boatload of momentum heading into the second set. Now, though having a great serving day, was Francesca's serve perfect throughout the entire final? Well, almost. She did have one minor mental lapse in the second set, where Sam was able to get a break and hold to take the score to 4-1. And as you would predict, that's when the Australian power hitter began to really pick up some steam. I mean, though it made for a great wrinkle in the match and stirred things up a bit, it shouldn't come as a surprise to any of us. Why? Because Mr. Momentum usually likes to stay on the side of the player who serves the best. Now, why shouldn't it be a big surprise to us? Because Mr. Momentum usually likes to stay on the side of the player who's serving the best, which was definitely the case here. The one who's quote-unquote on when serving usually can do a lot of great things, like dictating the tempo of the match and making the opponent play at an undesired pace. Now, luckily, Fran was able to weather this storm. Okay, she stuck it out and stayed as poised as humanly possible under these circumstances, and got back on serve, which ultimately led to winning 3 of the biggest games of her career back to back to back, essentially dumping all of that pressure right back onto her opponent's side. B, she fooled around. Fooling around? What do I mean by that? Hey, anyone who's seen the scouting report on Miss Samantha Smack That Thing Stosur knows that she has a thunderous forehand stroke that can wreak havoc on her opponent's strings, both ground strokes and on the return of serve. So, this being the case, normally an opponent would force them to return the serve from their backhand side, right, up the tee, the weaker of the two strokes. And Samantha, expecting this to happen, would, if possible, run around it and smack that thing back with a smoking hot forehand. So, no harm done, right? Not quite. You see, Schiavone fooled her by going to the opposite side. Yes, she did the reverse. She sporadically would serve balls directly out wide into her opponent's deadliest weapon. What are you talking about, Willis? On purpose? Yeah, on purpose. And guess what happened? Easy points is what happened. It frequently left Stosur wrong-footed. And if she did happen to get it back, it didn't have enough on it to do any real damage. Okay, Stosur wasn't prepared for it. Why? She didn't think anyone would actually be that crazy enough to try it. Guess what? She was wrong, and it cost her. You see, sometimes it's good to go down the road less traveled. She did, and made tennis history because of it. Now, I'm not saying that you want to go right into your opponent's strength every single time. That's suicide. Okay? But mix it up. Don't just go to her weakness every single time, because then she'll prepare for that, or he'll prepare for that, and have a leg up on you. Okay? They'll cheat over a little bit in their positioning, already be ready, and have a lot stronger return. Okay? You want to keep them off balance. You want to keep them on their toes so they can't settle in and get comfortable. Bottom line, you don't want to become predictable because it can kill you. Number 2, weakness exploitation. She placed instead of punished. Now you might have been saying to yourself while watching this final, wow, how did Schiavone produce such a top-level tennis performance against one of the heaviest hitters on the WTA Tour without using power? Power? What for? That's actually one of the biggest mistakes even the most seasoned and competitive tennis players make all the time. They try to out-muscle the power monger. That doesn't do anything but add fuel to the fire. Fortunately, Schiavone did not make that mistake in her French Open final match. Instead, she denied her opponent that gift and took the pace away. She put it in her back pocket and never took it out. Well, she would pull out the big gun occasionally, but for the most part, she used much milder shots, okay, like soft high topspin loopers and super sexy slice backhands. This strategy not only almost drove the Aussie to the loony bin, it also drove a stake right through the heart of her rhythm-gaining hopes. And as a result, she was forced to generate her own pace, something pretty difficult and outright exhausting to do over and over and over again. Let me tell you, it takes tons of patience, near perfect timing, and boundless concentration, something that very few possess. Yeah, even the 7th seed at Roland Garros. You know what it was? It was bait. You see, most players end up becoming impatient and wanting to blast it out of the park. Sam took the bait, went for the big shot, and shanked a bunch because of it. Number 3, the fluctuation of offensive and defensive posturing. Now, much to many players' dismay, it's virtually impossible to be running and gunning on high-octane offense 100% of the time. You have to be able to tactically and strategically switch between both as each situation changes. Schiavone did that. She analyzed and evaluated each situation one by one. If she had Sam with her back turned or in an inferior position, she made an offensive advance. On the other hand, if Stosur had her scrambling, she wouldn't force the issue and try to generate a mind-blowing power shot right past her. No, she would shift to a more defensive gear, possibly lob it up to give her more time, or gave her one of those sexy slice backhands that we talked about earlier. What that does is it stays up higher in the air and gives her more time to get back in ready position. Now, it's important that you know when to use each of these strategies, because if you do the opposite or mix up the two, it can spell disaster really fast. Great job, Fran. Number 4, she became the neutralizer. As I mentioned before, Sam smacked that thing back Stosur is a baseline banger. That being the case, Schiavone knew it would be a championship suicide to engage in a slugfest battle from the baseline. So that said, her plan was to get aggressive and neutralize her brutal baseline strokes. How? By aggressively attacking the net. And what happened? Her plan worked. She ended up being quite successful. More than 80% of the time she went net hunting, deflecting well-angled volleys to finish her off, point after point after point. Oh, and guess what? This is critical. She didn't stop. She didn't say, let me try something else. She doubled the dosage. She kept doing what was working and did it more, winning 14 of the 15 times she came to net. Smart girl. Then, the tiebreak. So with all of this wonderful strategy working for her, by the time the tiebreaker came around, it was lights out for Stosur. Confidence, momentum, and the adrenal push were all on Schiavone's side. She felt almost invincible. Everything was clicking. And just like anyone would do with this type of feeling, she went for broke. She let everything rip, firing away with ease, executing gutsy, yet intelligent shots like the cross-court backhand smack dab into her opponent's weak spot. She was hitting corners, she was nailing lines. It was incredible to watch. Then she just steamrolled through the final few points needed to capture that 2010 French Open crown. And that was that. 6-4, 7-6, 7-2 in the tiebreak. Now, you know what's funny? Stosur actually predicted she would lose. Listen to one of the quotes she made. The smartest player will probably win this match, not the strongest. And indeed, she was right. It came down to the more strategic player who had the calmest nerves. Fabulous job, Francesca. Now, why I find this ironic is Stosur is the more powerful player. Stosur is the strongest player. She's the more aggressive player on most occasions, and she uses that. And she continued to use it today, yet she had a feeling that that wasn't going to do it for her. Oh, yeah, that making history thing? She's the first Italian ever to win a Grand Slam in the Open era. Ay, talk about pressure. Enjoy the biggest win of your tennis life, Francesca, and we all here at TennisMindCamp wish you much continued success. Like always, thanks for watching. Now, I'd love to have your feedback, so let me know if you like this French Open Finals analysis by leaving a comment in the blank below. Alright, have a great week and an even better game. Oh, and if you'd like more kick butt strategies, 19 hours worth, be sure to check out tennismindcamp.com/course.html. Now, I want to point you to that because that link isn't on every single video, just on some special ones. Okay, so head over there, check it out. I think it'll really help you. All right, have a good one.